Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. In a video that got 1 million views in Britain, a BBC video. Well, it's entitled this, what you're going to hear here.
President Trump.
This is, here, let me go back. This is, I said it was Sunday, or whatever. This will be a video that goes up Monday night. I just got done with my last video, and I'm rendering that and putting it up. It's Sunday morning, and that's going up today at 2. And I'll, if there's any update on BB and all that shit, it's a bunch of stuff to get to. Tucker Carlson possibly being arrested or charged with something by the CIA he works for. We'll get into all this stuff in a moment. But this popped in by feed last night.
And keep striking commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump wants the likes of the UK, France, even China to send warships to allow the route to reopen.
So the title of this video was President Trump appeals to allies to help defend the Strait of Hormuz. So that's fucked. Like, as much as he's been bragging, and I'll show you the fucking truth. His, his truth post on Truth Social. Like, it's fucked. Let's go to that, right? Donald J. Trump, Truth Social. Check mark. Many countries, especially those who are affected by Iran's attempted closure of this Hormuz Strait, will be sending warships in conjunction with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe. We have already destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability, but it's easy for them to send a drone or two, drop a mine, deliver a close-range missile somewhere along or in this waterway, no matter how badly defeated they are. Hopefully, China, France, Japan, North Korea, the UK, and others that are affected by this artificial constraint will send ships to the area so that the Hormuz Strait will no longer be a threat to a nation that is totally decapitated. And meanwhile, the United States will be bombing the hell out of the shoreline and continually shooting Iranian boats and ships out of the water, or one way or the other. We will soon get the Strait of Hormuz open, safe, and free. President Donald J. Trump. That does not sound like somebody who's confident of their fucking approach. This line right here is everything. Hopefully, China, France, Japan, South Korea, and UK, and others that are affected by this artificial constraint will send ships to the area so that the Strait of Hormuz will no longer be a threat. Hopefully. You're depending on other people sending naval ships? Like, you didn't have this thing planned out ahead of fucking time. Everyone knew it was going to happen. So this is where I think, I don't think he knows about it, but everyone else knows that this is like, hey, we're blowing the whole of America up and all this stuff. This is fucking, because if you're, these other countries, China, do you think China's going to send ships? They have a relationship with Iran and Iranian. They're allowing ships that are going to. Iranian ships are going through fine. So he doesn't want to put his naval ships over there. He said they're 100% destroyed. We have already destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability. And yet you need other people to send ships there? You lying piece of shit. Sack the fuck up, bro. But, South Korea has a navy that can, how do they get over there? Like, let's, I'm going to take a map. We'll go to the map here in a second. Take a look at this fucking thing. But this is like reality. He does not have a plan, and they can't open it. They can't do anything. He's begging some of these other countries to send ships over there. And they don't want to get involved in this war. Like, this country wasn't attacked. This is not a part of NATO. America was not attacked. And so they're going to have to send ground troops in and secure the coastline. They still have tons of missiles left. And so, like he says, it's very easy for them to shoot short-range missiles into ships. Like fucking, whatever they have over there, they have plenty of it. They have been stockpiling missiles. I'm sure Russia Russia wants this thing to fucking close. Russia's doing great with this. They have energy to sell. So, the prices are going to go up. This is going to benefit the shit out of Russia. And America's going to be depleted in the inevitable war between, right? This means, like, as long as this goes on, nobody can say shit about the Ukrainian war, which Russia obviously still wants to be engaged in. And so they have every reason to pipe in fucking missiles and to help out Iran keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. It like benefits them. And like I said, China's still getting their oil, whatever they're getting from Iran. Like, so this is bad. Like, this is fucking, like, you're begging fucking countries. Let's go to a map here. Okay, so this is the Strait of Hormuz. We'll just zoom out here. And like, this is the ask. I mean, this is what we had to do here. So, this is South Korea. So they have to send ships, and China's over here, right? So China and South Korea would have to send ships all the way fucking over here and then up through here. It's closer than America is. Like, we're all the fuck over there, right? But, that's a big ask. Europe's over here, and I don't know if they can cut through here. I know there's some canals, I mean, whatever it is. I don't think they have to go all the way around Africa anymore. But holy shit, like, this is France and England, they're up fucking here. And this isn't a NATO thing where somebody attacked a NATO country and they're all bound by alliances to fight. In fact, there's more with the BRICS thing for them. BRICS, India, and, is now, like, being wooed by Israel. But India is a part of the BRICS alliance. And these countries, they're more likely to come to Iran's aid than they are to fucking, they should. I don't know what they don't have a NATO thing, but they have an economic interest. But, like, fucking, this is fucked, right? Like, that's a long way away to, like, send ships. Like, this takes, those things don't come fast. And though he's got, like, this is another, I mean, every day, they've released some strategic reserves, so the gas price is sort of stabilized. But this is going to go on forever. Like he says, we're going to bomb the hell out of the fucking shoreline. But, America has limited missiles and things on their ships out there. Like, whatever they have, they're more depleted than Iran. Like, they're unless they're, again, having to move in more military personnel. I think they said it already cost the first 14 days of this war, cost, like, some, like, 10 or $15 billion already. Like, it's going to start mounting, right? People are already bummed. Gas prices will be going up. People aren't wanting this war. They might do some kind of false flag. We'll see if that happens. I think properly. People are worried about false flag stuff being called out as fake, and they don't even want that kind of thing or that debate. The Republican Party is fractured, and everyone else is like, well, fuck this. This is other countries. And so look how far away America is. You got to mobilize all this shit. And I think there's kind of waterways here, but I mean, it's just, going around the fucking, Africa, like down here and up. That's how they used to have to do it. And so, like, Europe, like, this is a fucked up thing. It's like halfway around the fucking world, right? India is like 12 hours from America. So you can go from California around this way, or around this way over the Pacific, or you can go from the East Coast. And it's slightly shorter from the East Coast, but you have to stop somewhere here in Europe or in one of these, in one of these Arabian countries here, Arab countries, usually like Qatar or one of these nice airports. And it's a fucking 24-hour flight. Like, it sucks. To get from America to India, it's 24 hours minimum. I once did a 12-hour layover with my family in an airport in Saudi Arabia. I had a video of it. I don't think I have it anymore, but we got bottled water and it had fucking fluoride in it, right? And I'm like, they were putting fluoride in Saudi Arabia. And the airport was freezing. Like, and it was like 110 degrees outside. Like, we didn't even go outside. And, it's a fucking hot, country in the Middle East. And it was so cold, I had brought a hat in my backpack, and we took turns wearing it, and people were taking naps on the floor, because we had to be there for 12 hours. And it was fucking brutal. I think they gave just free meals. It was like a, beautiful airport, but like all this money, these modern airports in the Middle East are so much nicer than American airports. But these flights, one time it took me 36 hours to get there. My first time, I went from New Mexico out L.A., and I went to Taipei to They took Singapore Airlines, which was one of the most luxurious things I've ever done. Singapore Airlines is amazing. Like even just the regular seats are big and really good meals. Just in the airport was like amazing airport. They had a science museum. I was there for 6 hours, and they had like this interactive science museum in the airport and shit. You go through and like all this cool stuff. But like it took forever. Like it was just these. It's like it zaps you, and that's just flying like on a commercial jet. Never mind taking a ship out there. All the way from these countries. It took all the gas you burn, all the like you're paying your all the money that's going into this, and then you get here, and you got whatever you got. Like they're mobilizing more ships out there, and if they are, that means they're losing, right? Like what they had in the beginning wasn't enough. And they have military bases and shit out there, and they have some naval ships in the area, that are in that area because they go. You have ships all over the globe, right? But like you're limited. Like these things cost lots of money, like hundreds of billions of dollars, and aircraft carriers and those types of things. If they have to bring in more stuff because Iran is like turning out to be much harder than they thought. And Israel's getting fucked, and Netanyahu's like fucking six fingers Netanyahu's. Like, this is not a good look at all, right? And he's begging these other countries, who many of them have no reason to be a part of this. Why are they going to like be a part of this fucking war crime? Like they don't want any part of this. They have to go to their people and say, America needs us to send ships because the Strait of this is just pissing everybody off, right? You did this unnecessary war. Everyone knows that this is like all these governments know that this is Israel, and Israel's so unpopular in these countries, especially these European countries now, who had to deal with this stuff before in the past, right? Same type of behavior. So, I mean, the reason Great Men in part created Israel is to get that shit out of their country. So, this is a fucking mess, right? Like he's saying how they're obliterated, and yet he's begging other countries, please send ships because we can't contain this. They don't have enough fucking ships there to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. Like this is something, it's like you made a big mess and you're begging your neighbors to come clean it up, right? Like in the middle of your street, and you're like, well, if you guys don't help clean up this mess, you aren't going to be able to go to work tomorrow because I fucking I messed up the street and you guys got to come help because I can't do this on my own. Like fucking, this is a fucking nightmare. All right, so that's the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, here we go.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts.
Okay, so that's pretty much all we need to hear. Now, Tucker Carlson, of all the people, is the easiest one to me for me to listen to because he's good at his job. He's like polished and he makes good videos. His video about the history of Iran, of Israel, or the comparing Israel to America in terms of what we do for them and what they do for us, and what we are as a country and what they are. Like they have no economy. Their economy is the size of Delaware, and he's good at that kind of thing. He's polished and he puts out quality material. He's smart and he's good at it. The problem is he's so wrong on so many things, and then he won't call shit out, and so he sounds great like some of these other people who are able to do quality content, but then they fail in some way or another. So just as a sidebar here, I had to go look for this video, and last night I ended up watching a bunch of Chris Webby's Raw Thoughts 7 reaction videos because they just popped up because I watched that one. I just watched the beginning of them, and I was watching these people. Many of them aren't truthers. React to Chris Webby's initial, like he's just got a great flow and a great so things that everybody knows about to whatever extent. And if there was two people, they look at each other, or one person, they're like at a shot, like this whole thing. Like when you first hear the song. And like people know, like there's lots of people that are aware of these narratives. And, one of the narratives is Tucker Carlson's dad worked for the CIA and Tucker Carlson was unaware of it. And that, there's all these people, Anderson Cooper, Marcos Miletus from the Daily Kos, which is a liberal, sort of whatever it is. Like, I don't even know what they have those things anymore. Does that thing still exist? Were the day before they started their thing, the day before the Daily Kos was created, and the day before Anderson Cooper started work for CNN, they were offered jobs at the CIA. Like to say, so these things. And Tucker Carlson's in that group of people because of his lineage, right? So for him to say the CIA is reading his emails and he's, like he was talking to people in Iran, I think that's what he says here.
So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because...
All right, so yeah, because I work for the CIA. So for a guy who's accused of working for the CIA and the CIA gives him some cover here, but, if they do charge him with being, some kind of shill for Iran, that would be kind of interesting. I don't think Trump will be fucking, we'll see what happens. I don't think this is going anywhere, just like he said. My microphone is flashing. I'm going to go switch microphones. It's time to, I've had this for a while. It's time to switch them out. Anyways. Okay, so I, often have a degradation meter on how we've degraded over time. Like an example of this is, Bill Clinton banged a 18-year-old intern, barely legal intern, and banged isn't the appropriate word for, weird shit. Did weird shit with Monica Lewinsky in his Oval Office. Now, up to that point, that was a fireable offense, right? But then he lied about it and was impeached, and he survived it. And after that, you could see, what everything that Trump is getting away with started with that level of degradation. They're introducing moral depravity. And, a level of accountability is no longer there. The decreased level of accountability, the decreased level of, incompetence, right? Like they had the mayor of Washington smoked crack and got his job back, right? Like he smoked crack, Marion Barry. Like there's just all these things that have happened where, you can see there's no standards anymore. There's no standard of excellence. And so let's go back to George W. Bush, who was an ass clown. Like he said stupid shit all the time. He had these things called Bushisms.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Right?
It was not always a given that the United States and America would have a close relationship. These are big achievements for this country, and the people of Bulgaria ought to be proud of the achievements that they have achieved. A fine host for the OPEC summit. I appreciate APEC summit.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Thank you for holding this awesome speech. The fact that they purchased the machine meant somebody had to make the machine. And so when somebody makes a machine, it means there's jobs at the machine making place. I remember
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
we're meeting a mother of a child who was abducted by the North Koreans right here in the Oval Office. These immigrants have helped.
There's a certain thing there. I don't know what that's called. Like the dangling participle, like those things that you learn in English class. Where he, it's the object and the subject, and it makes it sound like the North Korea abducted the person in the Oval Office. That's like a thing you learn in not to do in high school.
Transformed 13 small colonies into a great and growing nation of more than 300 people. The people in Louisiana must know that all across our country there's a lot of prayer. Prayer for those whose lives have been turned upside down. And I'm one of them. Again, I want to thank you all and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
Brownie gets fired. That's famous.
The FEMA director's working.
And it's like people remember it as you're doing a heck of a job, Brownie. And then, he gets fired.
I said on Friday, this thought took a while to thaw. It's going to take a while to unthaw. We got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
I was waiting for that one.
Prime Minister of India?
The new Prime Minister of India is, no. I oppose breaching those dams. I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. If you're a single...
All right. So there's one I wanted to show you here. So here's the shoe one. Let's just watch this because it's great.
And I know the speculation, but I'm the decider. And
He's a decider. I was saying that the other day to my wife. Remember when Bush said he was a decider? Okay, so there's one thing I want to show you here. I don't think they have it. Okay, so Bush had flown fighter jets somewhere. Like he did some sort of military service. Like, his dad was a congressman, so he was like they had potential. They were politics in the family, right? And he flew in on a jet, an aircraft carrier, here or something. I don't know if that was this one. He did it somewhere. But either way, he gets up on this aircraft carrier. I don't know if that was two different things, but that happened as well. And he says this in 2003.
The United States and our allies have prevailed.
And then they have this mission accomplished banner up there. And he got hammered for mission accomplished. Of course, the war went on into the Obama years when Obama was elected in 2008. So that was, I don't remember when the war was officially declared over. But I think it was in Obama's second term. So this thing dragged on, right? But he said, a mission accomplished. We have prevailed. Nothing like what I'm going to show you with Trump. And he got hammered for it, right? So this is him.
I regret saying some things I shouldn't have said.
Like
dead or alive. Bring them on. And by the way, my wife reminded me that, hey, as President of the United States, you better be careful what you say. I was trying to convey a message. I probably could have conveyed it more artfully. Being on this ship reminds me of when I went to the USS Abraham Lincoln, and they had a sign that said "Mission Accomplished." I regret that, that sign was there. It was a sign aimed at the sailors on that ship. However, it conveyed a broader knowledge.
Okay, so, that's just poor marketing planning, right, presentation. They blamed it on that. They said that the ship had accomplished their mission. But, what had happened was his dad, the first Gulf War was very successful. Remember this guy Schwarzkopf? And remember everyone wanted a Hummer? They were driving. It was so popular, that war. Iraq War won. And they got in, they got out. They didn't go to Baghdad. They didn't get bogged down. They went in there. It was about Kuwait. And America got in and got out. Very little ground activity. And they showed it on video. They showed there was this guy Schwarzkopf. You guys remember this? He was showing clips of them bombing a bridge. And there's this car. And he talks about how this guy is just a lucky individual. And the car crosses over the bridge. And the bridge is blown up. And the car survives, right? Keeps on driving. And there was just this great footage, and Schwarzkopf was good at, he had to whatever it was. And so that was very similar to Trump's first bombing of Iran, where it was quick done. It was done in a, within 2-week period, in and out. And, whatever we thought about in the truth community or people who know about this, these other people are fucking cool. They're very cool with it, right? Like the normies and the truth, the sheeple are cool. They were cool with that first thing that happened in Iran. There was anger at Israel and all this stuff was happening, but still, it didn't do any damage to Trump. It was early on in his presidency. That was like Bush's father. And then, Bush came in this war, he's talking about his, as this is about when Obama's getting sworn in here, right? So this is, and the war was still dragging on after mission accomplished, and he said that stuff. We have prevailed, right? So it wasn't just mission accomplished. He said we have prevailed. So here's the degradation. This happened, I think, 3 days ago.
And as we take decisive action to stop the threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran with Operation Epic Fury.
So this is, I'm going to get to Jake Paul interview with Trump. But this is the fucking, dumb fuckathon here, right?
Is that a great name?
Yeah, for a child. If you're like in a club with your buddies and you're like 11 years old, it's a great name. Or if it's some fucking comic book. Not if you're fucking, an adult. It's not. It's not at all. It's like fucking silly.
Well, it's only good if you win. You can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over. We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right? Over the past 11 days, our military has virtually destroyed Iran. It's a tough country. Their air force is gone, totally gone. That took the better part of about.
All right, so you get the parallels here. Now, when Bush came in there in 2003, it was early on, but not this early on, right? And the Iraqi army just folded into the I don't know exactly when in terms of they made it to Baghdad. But the Iraqi army just, they disappeared. They were took off the uniforms and they hid in their homes and they hid their weapons. And of course, the insurgency, which later became ISIS, Obama had to turn it into ISIS, made a deal with these guys. But then there was the Fallujah stuff where they were using illegal fucking, internationally Geneva Convention illegal weapons depleted uranium, and there's birth defects there, and Fallujah was a fucking nightmare, and all this stuff with George W. Bush, right? And so those are all the things that he had waiting for him. And Iran is going to be much tougher out than Iraq. Remember, Saddam Hussein hung himself or whatever, shot himself, was hung. They showed him getting hung, right? They captured him. They captured Saddam Hussein, and they, we were in there, we owned the country, and then all of a sudden it was no, there's just there's political unrest, and there was no regime change. Of course, Iraq is a completely fucked up country now, like Libya and these other countries. Regime change doesn't work, as this guy himself said. This piece of shit said, right? But what he's saying here is so much worse than the mission accomplished thing George W. Bush was hammered on. He even said that was part of the things he regrets. That sign and him saying whatever he said. He's not talking about that, but he said milder things compared to what Trump is saying. And
3 hours. They no longer have radar. They don't have anti-aircraft equipment. They don't have anything. Their missiles are down 90%. Their drones are down 85%. And I can only say this. They were all prepared. They're very strong. They're going to try and take over the whole Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel. They don't know what the hell hit them, right? They don't know what hit them. They got hit by the American military. They don't know. They're saying, what the hell is happening?
all right, so that's fucking brutal. And 3 days later, he's begging fucking China and European countries to send ships to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. And he says how easy it is to shoot missiles from the shoreline in a very narrow area, short, small missiles, because they've gotten everything else. And so those missiles can hit the ships. And Trump does not want one of his big-ass fucking elite-level military ships to get fucking lit up in the Gulf of Hormuz. Like, if they, again, they can if they can just lob missiles from the shore anywhere, they don't even have to have, without any sort of ground troops in there. Whatever missiles they have, those missiles can hit big ass ships too. Like there could be a fucking, big hole in the side of a fucking, one of these big ass ships. Like doesn't take that much to do that. And so, if they sink an American ship in the fucking Gulf of Hormuz, one of these warships, they only have a few of them out there. So he doesn't want to go in there, right? And they have other shit on there. Like, you have weapons on that ship. And if, like, one of their missiles hits those weapons, explosives, so these missiles have, like, whatever it is, right? So he can't even bring his own ships in there. And he wants fucking these foreign countries to put their ships at risk. And so they have no plan for the Strait of Hormuz. We'll be talking about this in 6 months. Unless they're going to have to go in and, if they secured that whole border, which would take a lot of troops, like we're talking about, 50 miles, whatever it is, to make sure some guys don't just come out with fucking missiles. And so they'd have to bring ground troops. And they have like a million soldiers in Iran. That's their number one priority would be to secure that place, like, that area. Like that's, and so, this is how bad it is. And nobody gives a shit because he's so fucking degraded, right? Like Trump has made the presidency such a joke, which I love. I loved in the beginning because the presidency is a joke. But then, once it's a joke, right? Like, the president's supposed to have some credibility and he has zero. Like, they're just used to him talking shit. It's like, why even bother calling him a liar anymore? Because that's all he does. Like, it'd be easier to highlight when he tells the truth. It'd be easier to say, hey, look, Trump says something that was true. Like, that would be fucking much easier than to talk about all the lies he tells. Like 90% of the stuff that he says is deceptive. And, I think he's a new age fuck. He's like one of these new age people that thinks you can speak shit into existence. Right? Like, so that's fucking Trump, right? Okay, so I just want to add something. I'm going to do a little voiceover here and I'm going to get back to it. I want to get to the Trump Jake Paul interview because that's, a disaster. I switched microphones, pretty happy about it. It's not blinking. It's blinking a lot. Hopefully this microphone will be smoother. It came with, they have these little USB thing here, but it also had a little thing to, adapter for USB-C is what I have on my computer, on Apple, a MacBook Pro. So it looks better. I'm pretty happy with my new mic. It's the same mic, but a little bit better, newer version, I think. Anyways, all right, so to do with the war, when they're talking about this being a holy war and Armageddon, you can't just lob missiles from the shoreline and bomb them. You can take away their, some of their facilities, and you can do all that shit. You can, but that sets up a ground war, right? And if you are talking about this being Armageddon, and if you're talking about complete surrender, you're going to have to go in there and fight them, right? I was talking about this with my wife. When I grew up as a kid, there was a volunteer fire department in my town. Like, they didn't have a regular fire department. And some of the kids from high school were in it. And they all had these fucking, some kind of thing that they wore to show they were in the volunteer fire department. Like, they were totally, like, proud of it. And my brother had worked landscaping. And he was clearing some brush from some house. Like, he lived probably about 45 minutes away from that town. Like, he never came out there when I was growing up. Like, I used to go to his house all the time, but, he had agoraphobia, so he wouldn't leave his house, that kind of thing. But before he had that, he worked in this, landscaping. He was dropping off a bunch of brush from, speaking of Bushisms, there was one where Bush was comparing a cut he got clearing sage brush from his imaginary farm. He had a farm that had no cattle, no anything. It had no crops, right? He pretended to be a farmer. He wore a cowboy hat. But he was clearing some of this, like, stuff that grows out there in the West, some of this, like, cedar, sage kind of stuff. And he got cut. And it must have been a photo op. And he compared it to, like, wounds and injuries that guys were getting in the war. Like, he was, he had some Trump in him, right? But, so my brother's clearing this stuff off. And there's a small brush fire. and some volunteer fire department guy is there, and my brother hears him say, "There's a fire at the dump. Roll everything." Right? And so when I was later on, right when I started Sizemore meditation, I had broken up with this nurse who, we were engaged in, this kind of thing. I moved from Connecticut to the Five College area. I lived in a shared house. And the guy who rented the house out also owned a repair shop for forklifts that had, that ran on butane or whatever it is, that is a specific gas. And butane, of course, is lighter fuel fluid. And he had butane tanks to fill up and, work on these. It was like a shop. And it was connected to the house. Like there was no door between the two things. But it was, the building was like a old barn or garage that had been converted into this shop. And the shop started on fire. And there was a family, there was a single mom who hooked up with one of my housemates. And they ended up getting married and moving to New Mexico, which is kind of interesting because that's where I ended up as well. And the guy who, sublet the house, and then he would rent out these rooms to all of us. So, and then there was a woman who lived at the end of the house. I'm not sure if she was there yet, because the one guy moved in with the other woman, the single mom. But we came out. The woman had her baby. She was a professor at Smith College, and she comes out with her baby. It's like fucking cold out. It's like, we're not wearing our coats. It's like it's November in Massachusetts, so it's like 40s, 30s. It's fucking cold, and we all had to run out of the house because there's these explosive canisters, like whatever. I mean, we might have had some people might have had coats on. I don't think I had one on, and we're watching it, and this thing burns, and it's like got a high ceiling. It's like 2 floors, and the volunteer fire department comes out, and they wait for the fire to burn a hole in the roof, and then they start taking hoses, fire hoses, from 4 different angles, all shooting in the hole in the roof, dousing the fire. And so my buddy was a fireman, and like a paid fireman in New Britain, Connecticut, where we lived when I went to school at Central Connecticut State University. That was, my second attempt at college. And this is my old basketball buddy, right? He's a Jewish guy from Connecticut. He grew up in the same town that I lived in when I was a kid, but we were, I would have went to one high school, he would have went to another, so we didn't. He was like 1 year younger than me, I think. But we met playing basketball on some courts out there in West Hartford that I was living in Simsbury at the time. It came, and we were like both in high school. And then we saw each other in Central, and we ended up being on the same. We formed a YMCA basketball team, and we were, friends for a long time. And I called him up, and I was talking to him about the fire because he was now a professional fireman, and he was laughing at. I described step by step what they did, and then I described that thing at the end where they let the fire burn. They didn't go inside, and he goes, "That's why they call volunteer firemen surround and drowned, right?" So, which is what he said. The term. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what they did. They surrounded the fire, and they waited till it burned out enough so they could get access to it, and they just drowned it with water. But he said, when you get paid, you got to fucking go in there. If you're a paid fireman, like you got to save, like, you can save the building. You have to put on an oxygen mask and kick the door open. My grandfather was a fireman. Like my grandfather was in 2 world wars and all that shit, before they had oxygen masks. He goes, you got to get in there. He goes, the smoke's what's going to kill you. So they have, and you got to go in there, kick the door down and douse the fire from inside. You can't just wait till it fucking burns a hole, this thing. The people aren't going to pay you to do that shit, right? So that's by the same, in the same way, when you're fighting a war, you just can't lob missiles in and do all kinds of shit like that and declare victory. I mean, if you drop atomic bombs and shit, yeah, sure. Like if you're willing to kill like just everybody, I mean, civilian loss. Like what we did to Japan is horrific. And we do have nuclear bombs. Like that's just, people think that, we have them. And, but they just, you're going to kill, it's not just everything. You're not just people. And you destroy like people's shadows were on buildings and shit. I mean, it's like they're still recovering from it. Like it's it's demonic. Like in Whispers of the Brighter World, they call it demonic energy. Right? They're splitting an atom. Like, fusion is is a natural process where you add something to it, right? Fusion, but which happens in the sun. But fission is unnatural, and you're breaking something apart. You're splitting the atom, right? And it shouldn't be done, right? It's a fucked up thing to do, and we know it. Like we know now, it's we live with this thing. And so for Trump to come out and say we've won the war, well, we haven't, because if this is an Armageddon-like thing, and you're expecting them to give you unconditional surrender, which they're not doing, then you're going to have to go in there and fight a ground war. And like I said, they have 1 million troops, and they're more prepared than Iraq ever was. And they're backed by Russia, and America wants no part of this, the American citizenry. And you're fucked. And the Strait of Hormuz may never fucking be open again. At least, in terms of what they're doing, so in terms of what's happening right now. And the oil prices will crash. The economies all over the world will crash. We own this stuff, right? You broke it, you bought it. Like that's happened, right? And so him coming out and saying that, you won the missile battle possibly, but we don't even know because Iran has a shit ton of missiles, more than Iraq. And, they didn't mobilize near as much shit as they did with the Iraq war. Like we were going in, it was going to be a ground war, started in Afghanistan, going into Iraq. This is planned out. And, they mobilized a shit ton more. Like we don't have it over there. They just have a couple of big warships. They don't really have, they have ground troops and all that shit is a whole nother deal. And, this stuff has to be planned in the. They have, basically no planning. It's a fucking mess, right? So there's that. The other thing is I want to talk about, the truthers thing in a second, but I should say something about my health. I'm now in the standpoint, because when I start getting better, I usually stop talking about it. But in terms of my heart thing, it's been a week since I had any significant issue. I'm doing that thing where I lean against the wall and I put my legs up on the wall. And my wife found that, and it's supposed to really help with the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's really helped me. In more ways than just the heart. I feel like I like doing it. I feel better after I do it. Some other things. But the main thing is my heart just didn't start racing for no reason now. Maybe for a few beats or something like that, but not for where it just goes from zero to, that first day I'm sitting in bed doing what I'm doing right now, talking into the microphone, and my heart just fucking went crazy, right? And then it happened 2 more times. It got up to 250 beats. The third time was just it was a very short period of time. And then after that, it's been nothing. And so, it gets up to 120. But now, if I go out and do yard work, and I kind of overtax myself, if I, get my heart rate up to probably what I used to get it up to, or, it goes maybe a little bit higher, and then it takes me a little while to get it down sometimes. Sometimes it goes down right away when I come in. So, it's a matter of me exercising and so and I'm monitoring it. I don't like to be conscious of it. I don't want to constantly be taking my blood pressure. And I've woken up a couple times thinking my heart was racing, and I took my blood pressure. I did my pulse rate, and it was just not that high. And then it went back down. I went back to sleep. So really, it's definitely right now in terms of, it seems much better. The problem is I can go from feeling great to having something happen. That's what's happened in the past, where it just seems like everything's fine. But I think I've lost 10 pounds now. I'm continuously losing weight. I've got a system. And sometimes you just got to put an effort in, and things go better. All right, so my wife's just texted me we're going to go for a walk, which I wanted to do, and I was waiting for her to be ready, and then I'll come back and talk about the thing about, it has a little bit to do with the Chris Whitrebby video and something that is, to me, a plague of the truth community. So, the one thing I would say with the song, and just in general, this is a broader problem with it, and I don't want to call it a problem with the truth community, because it's not a problem, because that song is, for what it is, it's as good as it could get. It's a masterpiece, right? But there's levels to everything, right? And preventing it from being a next level thing. He says if Trump is guilty too, after he lists all these Epstein things, and I'm like, Trump, of course, is guilty, but that's whatever that is. That's not what I'm concerned about. It's this idea that the controllers are the only bad ones, right? That everybody else is just a helpless victim, and the controllers have done all these things. He listed these things like he turned us against our neighbors and, taught us to be sinful and all these things, right? Encouraged all these things, which is true. The people that I call the controllers, and he gets into Israel and all these things, they did all those things. But if it's not in you, they can't do it, right? We didn't have to let them, right? We didn't have, and we don't have to go along with it, but yet we do because it's in us too, right? Like the stuff that their problems, their issues are in all of us, right? The things the weaknesses they have are also the weaknesses we have, right? So, the way that they have to have a partner. We're partners in this with them. We have partnered with the controllers, whether we like it or not. And, now that we're waking up, it's all right. Well, I'm not happy with the partnership. But, you've already kind of committed to it, and your ancestors have committed to it. And if you understood what you'd have to give up if you dissolve the partnership, you would probably choose not to dissolve the partnership. I mean, the majority of people wouldn't. It'd be a small percentage and not enough to change anything. So this is what I'm talking about. In the Mahabharata, there are a lot of saints that are cursing people all the time. Like there's all these curses. Like curses is a big thing. And the whole Mahabharata is predicated on curses. If there weren't these curses, it wouldn't have happened. And, this is a real thing that people can do. But the first master of the Sajmark system said, if you don't have the samskaras inside of you for the curse, it won't work. They can't put a curse into you. It has to be something that's inside of you that's pulled out. There has to be something inside of you that they can access and pull it out. And, so you're going to have to deal with it at some point in your life. And it's just being activated, right? You have to have you have to have the virus inside of you, and they can't put the virus inside of you. It already has to be there. And so, a good example of this is if you see George C. Scott's The Flim Flam Man, which is an excellent movie, timeless movie. It takes place in it's a barely color movie. It barely has color in it. And he has this apprentice, this young guy, who he's teaching how to be a grifter, right? And one of the main scenes is there's this guy that's known as Slim Pickens who was really skinny, but then he was, when I watched him in movies, he was fat. And he was always in like Westerns and old movies. And he had a certain kind of Midwestern, but kind of little slimy kind of personalities, often like a villain sidekick or something. And he's a farmer. He plays a farmer in this movie who just cashed his check. Like it's a big time for, the harvest is coming in. So there's all these farmers flush with cash. And George C. Scott, the grifter, and his apprentice have put down a wallet, and the wallet has a little bit of cash in it, but it has a massive check for like $1,500 or $1,000. Again, this is in the 50s. And Slim Pickens sees the wallet, and just as he's picking it up, the young kid grabs it at the exact same time. So they both have their hands on the wallet. And George C. Scott comes up, and he's going to sort of administer we can split this 3 ways, right? And what they get the guy to do is they give him the check because he's the only one who can cash it. And he's going to come back with the money and split it with them. But he's not, right? And, so what they do is they get him to give them his cash to hold on to part of what he owes. But he's going to walk away with a lot more money. He gives them like $200-$300, and he's going to get $1,500. And they show him like he was walking away. And as he turns the corner, George C. Scott looks around the corner and he's running. Like he's running away with a check, and he can't believe he just got this much money out of these two guys. Like he thinks he's grifted them, right? And he says to the kid, it's the greed that always gets him, right? And so if you don't have the greed, if you don't have the hatred, if you don't have whatever they're using against you inside of you, they can't do it, right? They can't put it into you. They're not putting the evil into you. They are activating it, right? And so, all these people, all these truthers that blame the controllers for everything, and it's like if you got rid of them, we'd all be fine. Well, no, because it's in every one of us, right? It's in the majority of people. Unless you do like the cleaning and the Sajmark meditation that I do, and you work on your character, assiduously. That's what Master Charji wrote to me, assiduously, because I wrote to him about working on my character. And I don't know if I ever did assiduously, but, I put effort into it. Unless you work on it, then you're not going to get rid of these tendencies. Like human beings have these tendencies They're in all of us. You know, some people it's worse than others. It is whatever. Some people are more corruptible, whatever the thing is. Some people haven't learned their lesson yet. You know, a lot of young souls. But you know, like there's some level of innocence in the beginning, but as you're an adult, you're going along with something that you know to be wrong, and you know, even if you know, like you really want to do something different, but you can't, that's still part of it, right? And so, you know, the only way that they got control of the system was to appeal to people's lower nature, and the lower nature is there, and everyone has to embrace that in themselves and realize, like, you can blame these people all you want, but as I always say, if they are the worst people in the world, like you say they are, like most of us think they are, why are you waiting for them to change? Why are you waiting for them to, you know, and if you think you can fill their position with a good person or yourself and not be corrupted, like you're batshit crazy. Like this is a corrupt system that's designed for corruption, and it corrupts all the people that get into power, or it would collapse. Like you either have to have evil people running the system, or it would collapse. If the system runs off evil, it runs off lies and deception, and it goes against God's will. Unless you're willing for the whole system to collapse, then you should shut the fuck up, right? Like stop whining about like you're a victim, because almost all of us don't want the system to collapse, at least on some level. Yeah, I know it would be for the best, and I still struggle with it. Like I've been convinced about this for years. I've lived through it before in past lives. Like as much as I know anything, I know that this system is bad in so many ways, and it weakens us in so many ways, and it appeals to our lower nature. I mean, that's that's a generous way of putting it. And yet, we're all dependent on it, and that's just reality. So, when people don't address that, and I don't expect everyone to get that and see it and, reach that level, but then you're just at the beginning of spirituality when you realize, hey, it's not about changing the world. Or there's this, I'm watching this TV show, I ended up kind of speeding it through it, called The Mosquito Coast. And, it's a couple that they're semi-liberal, liberal. They're liberal, and they're doing activism, and doing some of it's violent. With the one person's doing violent stuff or whatever. It's not really a great show. It was like the first season was a little bit better. I ended up sort of speeding through it, but it's all about doing activism, and it doesn't work, right? You just protests don't work. We just saw some protesters. We were driving through town yesterday, and there were some protesters, and it was this lame No Kings protest of a bunch of liberals in a place near Whole Foods, and there's some health food stores. So there's some people over there that would agree with them. Some people are honking, and one of the guys had a sign up: "We're not paid protesters." I'm like, I hope not, because someone would be getting screwed if it's fucking it's like 50, 100 people in a busy area. No one gives a shit. It's not going to change anything. And I'm like, oh, I hope you're volunteering, because this is not fucking worth money. I had this realization right before I started meditating. So this is 1993. And I was in this kind of hippie, liberal human service school, and we were doing some kind of activism stuff. And I realized that, I was doing something on Christopher Columbus awareness of the Howard Zinn book about all the shit that Christopher Columbus did that was evil. And these Arawak people in the Bahamas that were, they've been completely exterminated. They were demanding gold in a country that, in an island that didn't have very much. Like they probably had gotten all the gold that was there. And, some of the people, like some of the elders in the tribe wore gold. And they were cutting off people's hands if they didn't bring them gold. And they're like, there's no gold, right? This isn't a gold-rich place, right? It's just a little island. So... And they were doing fucked up things, like just abusive shit, and like conquering these people and just all of it. And, I realized like I had some of the same characteristics as Christopher Columbus. Like I was getting frustrated with people, just the same kind of, and I was like, why change, history when you could change yourself? Like I had this realization that, the only thing you can really change is yourself. And then of course I worked in my first treatment center, and I realized that again. It kept on being shown to me. You can't change other people. Like if you want to go help people, then, change yourself. Turn yourself into something. Lots of people are fucked up, but they want to help other fucked up people instead of working on themselves, right? if you're fucked up, you got to change that, right? If you're broken, you're not right. You got to fix that shit. Instead of trying to change other people, why the fuck you want to do that? The only thing you can really control is yourself. So, everyone's got to realize that at some point, in whatever capacity, and that, work on yourself. And, you can make the world a better place by improving your, not contributing your shit to the world, right? Becoming somebody who's actually making the world a better place. And then when you do that, it's not about fixing other people. You can inspire them and lift them up in a spiritual way, and that, will motivate them to do the same thing. And, that's the only shot that humanity has. And right now it doesn't look good, But if you're being perfectly honest, you got to fix yourself. And this, there's no political solution. There's none of these other things. All right, so let's get back to it here. Okay, so this is a movie called The Pizza Movie. Pizza Movie, not The Pizza Movie. Pizza Movie. And this guy's going to take an experimental drug. It's the fat kid from Stranger Things. I only watched the first season, and I don't know if I got through that. There was too much creepy Steven Spielberg-like-esque movie, and there's always a fat kid in it. This guy has like some kind of like the people that don't get adult teeth, so he speaks with a lisp. But he's in college, and he's rocking black nail polish as a nerd who gets picked on in the beginning of the trailer. And he, finds this experimental drug. And he starts to hallucinate with him and his roommate. Again, the black nail polish, but it's like gross. Like he's not even upkeep. He doesn't got all the fingers. Just weird shit. Like the fucking, this generation's so fucked. So here's the thing. This is the pizza part.
Without pizza, it'll blow your brain straight out your... What?
So she says you have to take it with pizza. And their heads keep on exploding. And so until they eat some pizza, their heads are going to explode. And so they go on, here's the pizza bot. They have to find the pizza bot and spread the love. Yeah, I'm just going through this. I didn't watch the rest of this trailer. This is the kids. For some reason, they're obsessed. This fraternity or whatever it is obsessed with this kid, the loser. There's a dick pic there. But their heads are exploding here. They're doing all this stuff. And, it's the pizza movie. You'd think that would be something. See if there's anything more to watch here. Your worst nightmare comes to life and...
shoves a chainsaw up your...
We gotta get that pizza.
There it is. They're reaching for the pizza. Look at them. They're groveling here. There's a chainsaws coming up to stick it up their butt, and they're trying to eat the pizza, because once they eat the pizza, their trip is not so bad. They're, the drug trip they're on. So, like fucking, like it's really bad timing. This is a Disney piece of shit, Hulu on Disney kind of thing. Disney on Hulu. Hulu on Disney. Just depressing. Like, it's really bad, too. You can tell it sucks. Okay, so I was telling my wife about this, and then it occurred to me, and there's going to be a whole mind control MK Ultra thing coming up, but their worst nightmare is behind them with a chainsaw, and they want to shove it up their asses, right? They each have a nightmare that's behind them wanting to do that. And they're reaching for the pizza. And this is Adrenochrome. If you're not familiar with the Adrenochrome narrative, it's said that these people, starting with the Royals, these eyes wide shut people, right? These Jeffrey Epstein people. They would torture these kids, and they would scare the shit out of them. Like, they'd get them a peak of fear. And it would release this substance called adrenochrome. And this is just something that was out there. And the adrenochrome is it's like a drug. It's like adrenaline, and then they would drink the blood. That was the whole, this was the whole thing. And so that's what this scene would be about if you were going to put it in that context, because that's what's happening here. World famous Lord of the Pies, they're reaching for the pizza here. So, just, that's something. That's just the trailer. And then, I don't know if there's anything else here. These fucking guys. All right. She's upside down, inverted. All right. Pizza movie. Let's move on. So at the end of the thing, it says Daniel Radcliffe as the butterfly with the pepperoni everywhere. And the butterfly is a monarch. Monarch butterfly here. Can't really see it, but you can see it's a monarch butterfly here. You know, the monarch MK Ultra mind control program. So they got all of this shit, you know. This guy's stuffing something in his gruel hole with some old creepy guy standing next to him. It's a pizza movie. It's the pizza movie. There's the butterfly there. Pizza movie. Okay. It's on Hulu. So here's Brian Kilmeade.
It's going to be long. When it's over, this is going to bounce right back so fast.
When are you going to know when it's over?
When I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it in my bones.
when he feels it in his boner. His non-existent boner. Holy shit. Look at this fucking guy. Okay. When he feels it in his bones, then we'll know. He doesn't feel it in his bones yet, but when he does, then he'll end the war. Okay, so these two fucking Mensa candidates, Jake Paul and Donald Trump, sat down. It's got 1,700,000 views. And this is the hilarious part. This is the timestamps. Intro. Trump watching Jake versus Joshua and Anthony on Air Force One. Who will Jake fight next? Trump on fight with Kobe Bryant. Trump's transition into politics. Trump's on surviving the assassination attempt. Jake's broken jaw. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Trump's advice on defying the odds. Trump on winning the election. The meaning of winning. W men's care. How Trump people can get more opportunities. How young people get more opportunities. Jake's fighting career. Who's a better fighter, Jake or Logan? Would Jake and Logan ever fight? Trump on connecting with the youth. Trump on Iran and the Middle East. Nuclear weapons and the B-2 strike. Jake's final question to Trump. Trump on border control. Trump's MAGA. Jake's fiancée Jetta winning the Olympic gold. The American Dream and outro, and it's 26 minutes long, and that's the thing right there. We're gonna cover a lot of it because it's pretty funny. So you know the world's going to shit, and he sits down with this fucking moron, right? I mean, this is like he went to an interview with, and again, mainstream media sucks. But if you're going to do alternative media, Trump's not going to do anything where somebody would question, even going on like saying something like Joe Rogan, where he might get some real questions, right?
What an honor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for sitting down with me today. I think we'll get into some personal stuff, some fun stuff, and yeah, it's an honor. We're here at a factory doing a rally. It's my first rally, and it's actually my first show on.
Why don't you talk about it? All right.
This is going to be a tough night.
So who do you fight next?
It's a good question. I think Francis
Would you
Ngannou-
ever fight him again? No.
No, I don't think so. I think I need to go stay at my weight class.
I think so, right?
Maybe doing some MMA. We're promoting fights now.
Right. That was great.
Have you ever been in a fight? I heard a rumor about you like helping Kobe one time at a game. Is that a true story?
That was a long time ago, right? That was a.
Is this a true story?
Well, it wasn't a fight. I was breaking up a fight.
Okay.
Which sometimes is more dangerous than being in a fight, right?
So you're never in a fight, right? They talk about this with Kash Patel.
But no, I like Kobe. Kobe was having a hard time with somebody, and it worked out fine. But yeah, I broke it up. Probably not a smart thing to do. Historically, it's never good to break up fights.
Yeah, I try to de-escalate situations a lot. But you're gonna be at UFC 250.
Yeah.
He's a great fighter, and that's what I wanted to.
Bestsellers, and I see we have magazines. I was on this magazine so much. I'm looking at that picture. What are you doing to me? Show me that picture.
This is the coolest magazine cover of all time.
Yeah, well, it's like.
Was it like hot on your ear? Could you feel the bullet?
You had that throbbing feeling. You knew there was something. It was a bloody mess. What happens is, well, you know this better than anybody. The ear bleeds more because I said.
Oh, let's go back. I want to see the whole thing here.
I waited longer. It wouldn't have been good because of the clock. You know, the famous clock.
Yeah, because like I see myself wanting to get more into this world. I believe it's the biggest way to create impact and change
Would
in
you
America.
ever run for office?
I think so. That's what I'm asking for some advice. Like, how did you make that transition, and was it hard?
So, yeah, I don't know. I had to do it. You know, it's hard. A lot of people talk about it. You had to do it. And I had one shot left because you get to a certain age, you have a few years left. You got about 40 years to make the decision. But I had one shot. You know, the timing was good. But if I waited longer, it wouldn't have been good because of the clock. You know, the famous clock.
Yeah.
The clock.
Father Time.
Yeah.
Your famous Father Time. We know about that. Death, you mean? Yeah, we know about that. You die. Wait, you die? Like you get old and you die? That's weird.
So I had to make a decision. Do I do it? And I made it, but I was thinking about it for years. I used to talk about it because I was well known. I was very well known. I was successful.
Yeah, you were successful in a grifting kind of way. In a grifting going bankrupt kind of way.
Well, loved real estate. Then we had The Apprentice. Mark Burnett was great. And we did, you know, I did lots of #1 bestsellers. My books were all bestsellers. And I see we have magazines. I was on this magazine so much. I'm looking at that picture. What are you doing?
Okay, so this is the whole thing here with the...
Be showing me that picture.
It's the picture of him on the, you know, with the bullshit fucking... You know, the thing is so fake. Like, you guys who are new to my channel, the first day I knew it was fake. It was WWE. Then before I knew Trump had a relationship with Vince McMahon. And then it just all played out like that. It was so obvious. You can go back to my playlist. I was, you know, shocked that people in the truth community, no one else called it out as far as I know. I was told no one else was calling it out. I couldn't fucking believe it, right? Now people are, but it was like, again, late to the fucking party.
The coolest magazine cover of all time.
Yeah, well, it's like...
Was it like hot on your ear? Could you feel the bullet?
You had that throbbing feeling. You knew there was something. It was a bloody mess. What happens is, well, you know this better than anybody. The ear bleeds more because I said, why is there so much blood? And the ear's a big bleeder, having to do with cartilage. I didn't want to go into it too much, but...
it doesn't have anything to do with cartilage. Fucking... So first of all, when he stood up, and you can see it in all the pictures, the fake blood is dry. There was no cut, and it wasn't gushing. He wasn't bleeding. He said he grabbed his ear, and he looked at his hand. He saw blood, and there was none. You can see it in the video. When he gets up, there's dry blood. He's been out of the thing for a minute. It's already drying. There was no blood like dripped down. Like when he stood up, there should have been blood all over the place, and there wasn't a lot of it. There was fake fucking, you know, that's why I call it Ketchupgate, right? I hashtag Ketchupgate. That was my original thing. And so, you know, it was this year. So there's nothing here. And Joe Rogan said there was no scar. His doctor said it was smaller than 2 centimeters, and smaller could be nothing. And it did need stitches. He went to the hospital, but there was nothing there. So it wouldn't be throbbing. It wasn't bleeding. So that's all lies. We know that's all fucking lies, right? Like he's lying about all that stuff. Like he's lied over and over about it.
It was bloody as hell. So when I checked, I put my hand up. I said, you know, I brought it down, and it was loaded up.
His hand had no blood on it. When he looked at it, and when he gets back up and he's putting his fist in the air, his hand hasn't got any blood on it, right?
So I said, that's either the biggest mosquito bite in history, or I just got shot. And that was not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, my
it wasn't pleasant.
Adrenaline was pumping. I'm sure your adrenaline was pumping. Like when my jaw was broken, I just couldn't really feel it.
Oh, so you
much.
knew that you had a and you didn't...
No, my brother told me. I was talking to him, and my teeth were like in the center of my mouth, and he was like, "Yo, I think your jaw is broken." And then I like grabbed it.
But when he was hitting you, you didn't feel the...
It was the last punch.
It was the last punch?
Yeah, the very last punch of the fight that did it. So that's when I like went to the floor and was like, "Whoa."
Was that hard to recover from?
Yeah, it's still healing.
It's still healing.
Yeah, I'm not able to fight till later this year.
Okay, so they're talking more about the jaw than they are the fucking bullet, right? That should tell you everything you need to know. Trump's advice on defying the odds. The meaning of winning. Let's talk about that here. Let's see that one.
Great, it's a great feeling. Winning is a good thing. You know, winning, and whether it's in politics, whether it's in fighting, winning is amazing.
Yep.
There's no feeling like winning.
Yep.
And most people don't think they can win. Most people, I actually think some people don't want to win. You understand that?
Yeah, they want to be victimized and feel bad for themselves.
Yeah, well, like, you're the biggest victim out there, Trump.
This weird thing going on.
I would rather lose. That was what I was saying with Joshua. Is I'd rather lose and get embarrassed, but the chance of me winning, it could be the greatest upset.
Yeah, but
in
you weren't
sports.
embarrassed because
No.
fighter.
Yeah.
Who's a better fighter, you or him?
I am, sir.
Huh?
I am, sir. He knows that too, but he's a better WWE wrestler. But I think that
Oh, is that true? He's
yeah.
a better really?
Yeah, he's incredible at WWE.
Wow, that's great.
He's my favorite. I think they need to make him the champion one day.
That's great.
Yeah, but
Oh my God! So maybe they should make him a president because we got a WWE president, like Idiocracy, Trump on the youth, or here's the Middle Eastern Iran. Let's see what he says.
Great election, and the country's doing unbelievably well. This country, I mean, we did this excursion. We had to do it. Wipe out evil. You know, sometimes you have evil.
You just got to wipe it out. We got to wipe it out. Like Israel's good and we're good, but they're evil. Just like that, we got to wipe it out.
47 years they've been killing people, you know,
Yeah.
in the most violent way. The roadside bombs all over the place. That was 95% of them are from Iran. Soleimani, that was the one. We took him out. We did a lot of things, the B-2 bombers, and all of this whole thing that we're doing now is people have waited for 47 years for it to happen. So
you got to think about the Jake Paul audience. Like they got to be retarded. I mean, they got to be like on his level. Jake Paul's stupid, right? The Paul brothers are stupid, and you know they're young and they're you're like young and immature and dumb, like that stuff. But also IQ wise, right? Like they're not smart. They're not, you know, they're part of this manosphere, and so you know maybe they buy into this stuff. I don't know. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of them know about, like, a lot of these young people know about some of these narratives now.
you have to do it right, but our military has been unbelievable.
no, and I commend you for your bravery and.
Oh, my God, bro.
I think so many Iranians do as well, and I was a bit shocked too. Like everyone else in the world was like, "This is the greatest thing," and I think what you're doing is phenomenal. And I was shocked that so many activists like in America didn't like it, but meanwhile they're like, "Oh, well, we support women. We want women to have all these rights." Meanwhile, you're liberating the women of Iran. And then they have an issue with it. I thought that was
It's just crazy. I mean, I don't even understand it. I fucking don't understand it at all. Jesus Christ, bro. Were you always this stupid, or are you taking too many fucking headshots from your fake boxing career?
confusing.
We support gays, but they throw gays off the buildings,
Yeah,
okay? We
yeah.
support this. I mean, the things they do, and
So this is about gay rights? This is about women's rights and gay rights? That's what you want to do? You're trying to promote gay and women's rights in Iran? Is that the goal here? Speaking of gay rights, these fucking...
they're fighting. But I think I have tremendous support on this. This is something that's been incredible. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had now.
Yeah.
And it's not because of this. I think we've just, the economy is great. It's an...
Okay, just I can't. It's so bad. All right. Nuclear weapons here.
The number one thing is they cannot have nuclear weapons, okay?
Okay, that's all that stuff. Border control. Let's go to the MAGA thing at the end.
So the term MAGA, Make America Great Again, it was such a great term. And that's what I've done. Because literally a year and a half ago, we had a country that was laughed at all over the world. You know that. They were laughing.
Yeah, we were just not respected.
Nobody respected
No one
us.
respected the leadership.
We had a country that was
shit.
laughed at. The king of Saudi Arabia told me, he said, a year and a half ago, your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we do. And it's guys like you that make it hot.
Thank you.
It's guys like you, and it's presidents
We're
like me
trying.
that
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. He's all fucking going to get gay on us here.
have
We're trying.
interviews with guys like you.
Guys like you. I bet that guy does, that gay dude does that with him.
But I think you're great, and congratulations to your fiancé, I think.
All right, his girlfriend looks like she has like some kind of plastic surgery, fake lips, and weird looking. All right, hopefully I don't get this copyrighted. I don't know what Jake Paul's policies are. But this is fucked, right? Like just so fucked. If I don't, I'm just gonna play this whole video, and it'll be a donation video or whatever. Anyways, holy shit, right? Okay, I want to replay this here, right?
But he's a better WWE wrestler. But I think that
is that true? He's
yeah.
a better really?
Yeah, he's incredible at WWE.
Wow, that's great.
He's my favorite. I think they need to make him the champion one day.
I think they need to make him the champion. Now, there's a lot with his boxing that has been questioned, right? And then the rigged elections and all these things. But who's they, right? The WWE people or whatever, making him champion, right? Because everyone knows it's fake, but, when I was a kid, they tried to pretend it wasn't. And then they just finally admitted to it. But then the whole WWE stuff with Trump and the fake assassination attempt a year, even like he is just an unpopular, unliked guy. He's got his following, but, mostly he's unliked. Logan Paul. And to be reaching out to this guy, I mean, he won't even do an interview with Peter Ducey, like those yes men from fucking, And so, and he's going on Logan Paul's show, just completely fucked. But, I hope they make him champion, right? So that's that. I wanted to add that to this interview here. Okay, I'm going to check the comments in a second. There was one more thing I want to say about I was saying originally, but I don't remember what it is, so I probably should have turned on the mic. I should have probably thought about that before. I was talking about how the controllers were, everyone thinks that they're the evil and that all of us have been tricked or forced or whatever into doing their bidding. But it's actually, a negative thing to think that way. The truth community has promoted it because that means that there wasn't any choices made, that all the so-called good people, all the people who are being victimized, didn't have any choices in the matter. There wasn't decisions they could do differently. They weren't coerced in some way. And that there isn't things you can do now to change all of it, right? So, it's 10% of the people that I said appeal to people's lower nature. And human beings, I say this over and over again, they don't embrace their higher nature. You can talk about the solution. They don't want the solution, right? There was some woman who was doing some kind of like, holistic healing. Maybe she's a chiropractor or something. And she was also kind of maybe abuse survivor. I don't know. She maybe was a little bit older than me, my age. I'm not sure. Probably my age now, 5-6 years ago. So maybe she's like 5 or 6 years older than me. And I think she lived in Hawaii or something. And she, had a pretty, successful channel for someone, holistic healing things. And she might get 1,000 views or 500 views or something. And she put out a long video about solutions to, like, being with a narcissist, some kind of, what she felt was a really good video. And it got half the views of her normal video. And she was, like, perplexed by it. And I said, yeah, because, if I put a positive thing in the title or a solution in the title, it'll get no views. People are problem-centered, right? Our psychological model is always about the problem and addressing the problem. And people want the problem, but they don't want the solution. If you tell them the solution, they'll more than likely get pissed off at you, right? I remember what I was going to say here. The view is also that the people at the top of the system are so evil and so greedy, and, that's true, and that's not, there's lots of evidence to support that. And that the people at the bottom are just good people, and, they're just being whatever's happened for them to end up in this situation, victimized and, whatever it is. But the other part is what I'm talking about here, is that the masses are so connected to their lower nature that even if you had great leadership, you have to appeal to people's lower nature, right? And so, like some examples of this, if you look at the Ten Commandments, so, the Judeo-Christian religion and, Islam also comes from that region and that area. So that's the dominant religion. Like I said, Hinduism is a much richer and much more vast and more sophisticated religion. And then there's, in every, religion except for, I think, Christianity, there is a spiritual part. It's like a gifted and talented section. And, almost nobody goes into that. Everyone can, but nobody does, right? Like everyone can reach up and do more. And so if you look at the original, like, 10 Commandments, and they're worded negatively, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, that's fucking, you shouldn't even have to say that shit. Like, people should know that's wrong. I think people have a sense of that being wrong, but there are times in history where people didn't even think that shit was wrong. And life was so cheap and so fucking degraded. I mean, even now, it's like not in just, I mean, even now, and you see like how people play video games and act out these inner desires to do like horrible shit to people and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's the first piece. Like that's, you know, part of our reality. That's part of what's going on in terms of like people's inner nature. That, you know, the Ten Commandments doesn't work at all. They want to put the Ten Commandments at courthouses and state buildings. I mean, you look at what Israel just did to the Palestinian people, and you know, for them, it doesn't apply to goy. It's perfectly okay to kill goy. I mean, for many of them, because that's obviously the case, because the Palestinian people are looked at it as less than human, but they just murdered 300,000 of their children, and there's murdering all the time in the Bible, and God is ordering people to murder, and go kill the Philistines, go kill the Canaanites, right? Go get me 100 foreskins, whatever it is, some weird shit. So, you know, the bare basic shit like don't steal, don't murder. I mean, the Ten Commandments, you know, people still do that shit. And, you know, like you can't even appeal to their higher nature with some like more sophisticated, I wouldn't say rules, but suggestions. Because people, you know, have to learn like or embrace their you know, their not criminal nature, right? They have to, not animalistic nature. And so people want to blame the controllers, but every day people are doing fucking immoral shit they know that's wrong, and they're attracted to drama. They're attracted to violence. Look at the, you know, the stuff that's out there, porn. That used to make up 1/3 of the internet. Let me ask if that's still the case. Okay, so the AI says this. Estimates of amount of pornography on the internet vary, but recent data suggests roughly 4 to 12% of all websites are dedicated to porn, while pornographic content accounts for 12% of online videos and 60% of data flow. Estimates of 30% are likely overestimates. I don't know. I didn't say 30%. I said what percentage of the internet is porn. I'm going to change that to God, just for ha-has. It's impossible to calculate the specific percentage of internet that is God. Let me say religion. It says there's no metric to measure that. They talk about what people do, you know, in terms of connecting with God on the internet, but it's going to be less than 1%, right? And, you know, so, and that's just porn. So all the other stuff that's, you know, graphic video games, all the shit that's out there, violence, you know, percentage of movies that are, and it's not like, you know, the violence is often graphic and unnecessary and, you know, just over the top. And the sex is not like, you know, loving sex. It's not a healthy relationship. It's not about love or connection, right? It's not, I'm not talking just about porn. I'm talking about the average movie and TV shows. You know, so it's dedicated to people's lower nature. And then the drama, like so much fucking drama. Almost every show, whether it's a comedy or an action movie or any number of different genres, has drama. There has to be drama. There has to be conflict. People love these fucking reality TV shows that are 100% about drama. You know, people are problem solvers, but also desire problem creators, and people love problems. And so they don't want solutions. People don't want solutions. So, you know, you can blame the fucking controllers all you want, but, you know, even if the controllers were great, they'd still have to appeal to their lower nature. Remember in The Matrix, the Smith character, you know, the one that ends up, like, taking over the whole thing, you know, the program that's like security program. And he's talking to Morpheus and saying, you know, when we built the first Matrix, we made it utopia. You know, the Matrix is human pods being used for electricity, human beings living in pods, and they're hooked up to, you know, this computer program called the Matrix, in which they are, you know, their minds are you know, they're living this like it's reality, but they're really, you know, in a passive position. Their bodies are not being used. And he said that the Matrix failed because they made it into a utopia. And so they had to make it with problems and, you know, drama, because people couldn't handle the fucking utopia. People wanted all the filth and the lower shit. So, you know, all these religions and people that come down, all these higher developed souls, and they come down and there's a little bit of a movement, and then they die, and the religion turns to a low-based, corrupted piece of shit fucking organization, right? And so, again, appealing to people's lower human nature and all the things that are there, that are associated with that, right? And so, the solution comes down all the time, and God is transmitting the solution. I mean, it's there, available to everybody. Not just the solution, but all solutions to human, problems. And humans don't want them, right? Humans don't want the good things. They want the fucking lower nature, fucking shitty stuff, and it's obvious, should be obvious to everyone. So, like, people should stop blaming the fucking Illuminati or the Jews or the controllers and all these people. Not that these people in groups are Jesuits, the Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, all this stuff. Some of those organizations started as a way to elevate people, higher developed souls trying to elevate people, and they end up having to degrade their fucking teachings because people don't want the higher teachings. It's just the way it is, and I can vouch for that 100%. And people, when they want God, they want some shitty religion. When they want any of these things, they want it with drama. They want it with, like gross stuff. They want it, they don't want the refined. They don't want God. People are running away from God. People don't want anything really to do with God unless they're desperate. Then they want to go praying to God. So, that's what people are all about. And it should be obvious to everyone. And you can see, like, if you look back at the founding fathers, and, there's a comedian that does this thing. I showed you the joke. It's a Christian comedian. He does his Three Little Pigs in Old English. And he talks about how back in, whatever it is, early 1800s, whatever, when people spoke Old English, the average vocabulary was 25,000 words. Now it's 3,000. And I'm sure that's a dated joke. That joke is like 15 years old. So, I'm sure with all the emojis and like, the way that people talk now, young people, their abbreviations and things, that the vocabulary is even hemorrhaged even more, right? And, if you look at the founding fathers and their ability to, if you read their writings and the sophisticated language and just look at their handwriting, as a dyslexic, my handwriting is horrible. Like my dad and my brother's handwriting, I couldn't even read it. It's illegible. I don't know if mine's much better, but my dad would write like a couple letters in cursive, then 3 letters in print, and then another. So, it's like when you see the way they write, it looks like something that's printed. The way they made their characters, the level of discipline, the level of attention that people had, and, they had a lot more time, especially those lords and people like that, to learn those kind of things and, dedicate their time to that. Now everyone's too busy with screens and all that shit to master any of these crafts. But if you understand the level of the politicians back then, and they were still corrupt, slave-owning pieces of shit, the founding fathers were not great like people think they are. But you see Trump sitting down with Jake Paul and having, fucking whatever his name, Jake Paul, and having this conversation, and it's so remedial, and the people are so fucking dumb, and like it's just there's no sophistication, and Trump can't even pronounce like three syllable words and shit. Like it's just, and Jake Paul's even dumb. Like and Jake Paul wants to be a politician, and he might even get elected, even though like he's unpopular, because people are dumb and they'll fucking do whatever. And so like there's a degradation happening, and everyone should see it. Our system is making us less than we were, right? We're not getting better. Our technology's getting better, but we're getting less than. Like we're just hemorrhaging skills and abilities and things that, and the more our technology does things for us, the more that happens. It's idiocracy has set in. Everyone can see idiocracy. Like that's a true thing. That's like a fucking, that's what's happened now. WWE president. That's what they have in idiocracy, right? Okay, so there seems to be one comment. And there might be some more. I'll leave this open and I'll come back. I got to do some outdoor work. It's a beautiful day, but windy as fuck out there. And someone write, man, it's been a long time. I miss your outlook on everything. And it feels like I'm listening to a friend every time I listen to Paul. Hope you and your family are doing well. And by the way, I read The Choice to my son. We are patiently awaiting news on the remaining 2 in the trilogy. Well, I have the other book done. I think I just need to put it up on Amazon. It's not complete. It's fucked up because of there's things I want to change about it. It needs to be edited. I thought about getting AI to edit. I don't know. I just, and then the last book I'm probably never going to write. So The Choice, I would rewrite it now and it would be completely different, but I don't think I could rewrite it because a lot of the things in the book are are not, you know, there's things I don't think about as much. Like I'd have to, it's like, you know, when I was at that, I guess it's a good indication of where I was years ago. You know, I've written a few books that I looked at. You know, I had a workbook that I did about transforming abuse, and you know, the book would have to be completely rewritten. It's a workbook. It's got, you know, it's a counseling book kind of thing, and I don't know how I feel about it, but there are some good things in it, but I'd have to rewrite it, and there are things in there I don't remember. Like I don't, you know, so it's a weird thing. That's why videos are a better medium for me, because it's current, right? And, you know, I mean, some of these things age well and some of them don't, you know, or they just, you know, when you look back at it, you go, oh, wow, I was a dumb fuck back then. But anyways, I'm getting a lot of comments like this where people are coming back or finding out about, you know, remembering the channel or being told by YouTube, I don't know which. So that's fairly interesting. So, all right, so let me go out, work outside, see if there's anything else here. I don't think there's going to be many more comments. My video just went up, so we'll see. I'll check back in a little bit. Okay, so I checked. There's no comments came in. I actually didn't put my video up on time. There was a copyright issue. And so I thought that video was this video, and then I'm like, wait, I didn't even complete this video. And I'm like, oh, this is yesterday's video. Because I waited till the day because I didn't have internet. So I didn't put it up till 3:30, and I wasn't getting any new comments, and I didn't realize why. But is there one comment I wanted to get to here? I don't know. Did I? Yeah, there's one here maybe. No, that's the same one I read before. So there was no comments. You know, I just found the video of BB getting a latte. It's trying to prove that he's alive and he has 10 fingers. You know, I was thinking about it after I stopped the clip. You know, for one, they're simply not trustworthy, like any of these people and these governments, and particularly Israel. And they're not letting anybody know the kind of damage they're suffering. And there's all these videos and AI videos out there and other shit. My wife and I were watching Fox News last night because we didn't have internet, so we were just like, oh, let's... And they were so stupid on Fox News. They were talking about all these AI videos from Iran, and they were saying stupid shit, right? Just like stupid Fox News shit. And they were talking about how Iran is flooding the internet with fake videos. And, you know, everybody's doing that. And so there's no real way to judge what's going on in the war. Like, you know, when the Ukrainian war happened, I had probably 10 to 15 friends on Facebook from Saj Marg. You know, I knew a lot of Russian and Ukrainian people. And, you know, some of them I've had conversations with, we know of each other kind of thing. And some of them I don't know at all. And, you know, I think I banned a lot of them or got rid of them when I purged most of my heartfulness friends, the ones that were following Dodgy, because I didn't want to deal with them. And, you know, just I didn't want to see all their fucking heartfulness bullshit and all their dodgy bullshit they were posting. But there were probably about 5 or so left, maybe more than that. And I looked at some of their pages, the ones I could remember. Maybe it was 4 or 5 of them. And they were just posting shit like from CNN, like, or other news outlets about the war. And I'm like, well, what do you guys see? Like, have you guys experienced anything from the war? Because Ukraine is a big country, and, you know, a lot of these people they were just hearing shit like we were hearing shit. Like, we had much news about it as they did, you know, or, I mean, in terms of real, whatever it might be. So you don't even know. Like, it's, you know, these wars and things that take place overseas, and unless you walk out your front door and you see shit, you have no idea. They could say anything, and now with AI, they can put anything out there. And do. You know, that's just the way that's the way everything goes down now. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap this one up now, and I will put out a video on Wednesday morning, most likely. That's the schedule. And, yeah. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting to the Apocalypse. And the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day, and be grateful.